Standards-based instruction through phenomenon-driven student questioning is a movement happening throughout the nation, and there are tons of resources being written for this approach, except they're in the national standards approach, the NGSS. This quick, brief discussion is about NGSSS versus NGSS. What's that extra S stand for? Well, it's actually Next Generation Sunshine State Standards, and those are the standards, the science standards that we are held to in Florida. So what is the difference? Well, we're really not going to have time to go over an extensive comparison, but I will let you know that, for example, the NGSS, this is an example of the middle school in the structure of properties of matter. What you see on the top here is something closest to what our standards look like, and that is performance expectations. They do a deeper dive in unpacking these performance expectations here in the disciplinary core ideas. But they also connect these things called cross-cutting concepts and the science and engineering practices to every performance expectation. And what is the expectation of students in the classrooms? The cross-cutting concepts are how they want students thinking about the science topics, and the science and engineering practices are what the students should be doing in the classroom in order to learn these science topics. This makes the three-dimensional teaching, learning, and assessments in the national standards worlds in the states that have adopted those. I wanted you to also notice the logo they use, so that if you see this little branding on some curriculum, that you know that it's aligned to the national standards, and that you're going to have to really deeply dive into your own standards to figure out how much, if anything, in this curriculum that you have maybe uncovered you could use. Sometimes it's too far off your grade level, too far off your content to utilize, but since so many things now are being written on a phenomenon-driven process, we may just be able to go out there and look up what phenomena are they using to drive their classrooms and get their students asking questions. Incidentally, Florida isn't totally off base here. We are and have incorporated the science and engineering practices in every single description of every single science course in Florida. You may have noticed our curriculum maps having science practices added. I'm going to mention them as science practices or just practices as notated here in the NGSS logo. We had this on the cover during the 1920 school year of the curriculum map, and you can bet to believe it's still going to be on the 2021 curriculum map. These practices are part of what we should be doing in our science classrooms. On page 9 of every curriculum map, no matter what science course you teach, we have these descriptors of the science practices. And they've been edited slightly to be a little less reading, a little more to the point. Particularly, look at the bulleted areas, because those are questions to you as the teacher to find out what are you doing intentionally to provide these experiences for students to do these particular actions. And then lastly, you'll notice there have been these QR codes. So if you have a camera, a QR reader, or your iPhone, you can actually scan those to see and learn more about the practice that you've scanned. So what you would see is Paul Anderson, also known as the Bozeman Science Channel, explaining each of the science practices. He does a fantastic job explaining the science approach and what we should be giving students opportunities to do in our classrooms. I will mention that he also dives into the engineering practices part of this, and we don't really need to worry about that as much. We're going to stick to the science part and make sure that we give our students ample opportunity to once in a while dive into these science practices to show and demonstrate their learning of the science. So with this in mind, this course was meant to get our juices flowing, work collaboratively so that we could potentially identify the phenomena that are out there to get them into our science classrooms. We're going to end up doing this by grade level, course level, so we can all work together in our discussion groups that are in this Canvas course and potentially bundle our standards together to share out ideas and hopefully incorporate these into our classrooms so that our students will be driving the learning by their questions.